In this video, I want to talk more about everyday wellness, and in particular, I'm going to talk about three pillars I've really been focusing on in terms of how we can go about developing deeper knowledge and a deeper study of well-being, and particularly the well-being in regards to the self. And that's going to have to do more with this perception focus, this perceptual stream of processing, as well as a psychological set of processes, and then physiological processes. And these form a constituency that's essential to well-being and our direct experiences of well-being and optimal well-being in particular. And that's this constituency of perception and psychophysiological processes. So we have perception that's directly involving a psychological as well as a physiological process that have congruences between them that form a particular single process. So that could be involved in our wellness decision making, beginning an activity that we start off with an idea or we perceive something in the environment, and that activates brain stimulation that gets our body moving, and we start becoming more active and enter this inactive mode of processing that benefits our various psychological, perceptual, and physiological processes. And we can break them down in terms of various individual constituents, and where we're looking at just the individual perceptions that are direct to us, or we're reflecting more on the meta processes of our perceptions, so more of the psychological process. We're thinking more about how things impact us in the short to long term, how they impact our thought processes, our moods, our feelings, our emotions, our perceptions, our actions, has more to do with the psychological stream. And then a physiological set of processes. So this could be how rest or physical activity or what we engage in directly impacts our body and how we feel physiologically. So that direct contact and direct perceptions are often the source often of the physiological, and understanding that, but also just getting information, more information in regards to the body and learning in general. We can break down our investigations into perception, various psychological processes and physiological processes through conducting research and looking for credible sources, but in the process making sure that we're also reflecting on what we think and what we know through our direct experiences, and trying to triangulate information. And this process of triangulation is very, very important for the credibility and developing confidence with regards to information, because if you have various sources of information that are converging on the same thing, and they have different origins, they're from different places, chances are the likelihood of that being true is going to increase, because they're separate sources, and it's very unlikely that they're going to have gotten to the same conclusion using different methods just by chance. It's more likely that there's some grain of truth in there, and cross-referencing your sources is very, very important for increasing its validity. And that's also ultimately what our senses do as well. When we're locating an object, say in space, this very much involves the vestibular system, and that connects our visual processes, our auditory processes, and our motor processes. So things can say look slimy or look a certain way, and then we almost get this impression from its touch, and then we go to touch it and it confirms what we're thinking about it. And then that's sort of a way of cross-referencing information and developing a way of validating and proofing that. But when it comes to sources are not as tangible and are as direct to confirm. So making sure you're looking at other sources of information and credible sources, and cross-referencing less credible sources with credible sources can increase the amount of knowledge that we can gather regarding our perceptions, various psychological processes, and physiological processes. In an upcoming video, I'll be doing more of an elaborate video on looking at particular peer-reviewed journals and looking at how to read and evaluate social science journals and psychological science journals, because for someone like me who's went to school for forensic psychology and who's read quite a bit about quite a great many of social science and psychological research, I already know more or less where to look and what to look for. But if you're a novice, and I certainly know starting out as a university student, it can be a little bit overwhelming. And then as you're engaged in the process, you learn all the tricks and the ways of quickly assessing a paper, so you don't have to waste your time reading something regarding a finding or something that you weren't even that interested looking at. It's just loosely related to the main topic that you're focusing on. So there's great ways you can learn to save time by learning sort of the tips and tricks through navigating through various peer-reviewed articles, and also how to look for and assess high-quality articles, and to double-check, like for example, if you're starting to encounter a common finding. Great sources of information are meta-analyses, which compile a bunch of studies and take the average score, and it's best when they're using the same measures to cross-validate that, and it forms a more reliable score of a general finding through aggregating a bunch of effects that have similar research findings and which use similar methods. And that's highly important, and I'll go into depth about that in a further video. But it comes back to this idea of cross-referencing and making sure your sources are credible by finding alignment on those key critical areas of common discovery or finding. And that's all I wanted to say for this video, so I hope you enjoyed.